Okay, so we're going to do a pod review on this pepper right here, and this is the 7-pot lemon, and it looks a lot like a habanero, but I did do a pod review earlier and the video got messed up, so I have to reshoot the video. And I harvested all the peppers off it. This thing was absolutely loaded with peppers, but we're going to reshoot the video and go from there. So anyway, this is the 7-pot lemon, and let's pick one off and show you what it looks like. Now again, it looks a lot like a habanero, but if you grow this out in full sun, this will start to get a little bit of a wardiness to it. It tends to get a lot of white patches on it, like where it looks almost white. And it's very, very, very hot, this pepper. This is definitely the heat of a 7-pot. So that's what it looks like. And the phenos do change quite a bit on it. A lot of times they'll look like an extended cup and saucer, where the top part looks kind of like a top of a 7-pot, and then instead of a tail, it just, the whole bottom drops out, and that's why it looks like a habanero, but it's really not. It's really an extended cup and saucer. You just can't see it on these varieties because they're not really showing it. You really got to grow this thing outdoors in full sun, and you'll start to get some really cool looking effects and shapes on them. So let's turn you around and give it a go. Alright guys, here we are. We are doing another pod review today, and today we are going to do it on this pepper right here, and this is the 7-pot lemon, and it is a nice little pepper. It looks a lot like a habanero, but I can assure you that the phenos do change a lot when you put it in direct sun. They do get a little bit more warty, and they do have more of a 7-pot shape on the top part, and then the bottom looks like it kind of drops out. Instead of it forming a little stinger or a horn or a hook on the end of it, it just gets extended down. The whole center part kind of comes down. But they can get stingers on them if you grow them in full sun. So anyway, here it is. And we're about to do a pod review. I got to hold you back. I got a rotocuff injury, so I can't hold my camera up very much. But let's take a bite and see what it tastes like. I see why they call it the lemon. It has a lemony type of tardiness to it. Very tangy like. It doesn't taste like habanero. It does have a 7-pot type flavor. I do know from eating this before that the heat is a creeper heat. It's coming in now, and it's very, very hot. This particular pepper really affects the bottom of my tongue for some reason. I don't know why, but it really burns underneath the tongue, the whole underneath part, all the way to the point where your tongue meets in the back. The top of the tongue meets the bottom of your mouth. It burns all the way to the back. The heat on this thing is really starting to pick up. It's got the 7-pot heat on it. The main thing that this is affecting is underneath the tongue. Not really burning the top of my mouth. Not really burning the back of the throat too much. A little bit of a sting on the tonsils, very slightly. It's warm going down, but underneath the tongue is cooking, man. Holy smokes. Certain peppers do that, but it's very rare. This particular variety of pepper gets under the tongue, and it really, really, really stings it good, man. It's burning good. I wouldn't put this particular one too much past, say, 150,000 Scovilles. I wouldn't go past that. Though if I do eat up by the seeds, I'm probably going to feel it a lot more. I really wouldn't go further past that because it's really not hitting that zone. But the flavor definitely tastes 7-pot. The heat is definitely hotter. Now, like I told you, I've eaten these before, and the heat was much hotter. It was actually burning the top of the tongue, underneath the tongue, around the mouth. It was really full scope. This particular pepper, for some reason, lost a lot of its heat. Maybe because it's already the end of the year and it's not really focusing on the heat anymore. I don't know. This one wasn't as bad. I have eaten some of these though, and they were very, very hot. Much hotter than this. I would probably have put some of the other ones that I've eaten in the past probably upwards in the range of 350, 400,000. I mean, they were absolutely cooking. This one wasn't bad. It's just underneath the tongue is really, really the big focal point of this pepper. It's very unusual. It's burning a little bit at the top of the tongue now and around the edges. Some of the saliva kind of goes up towards the back of my sinuses, and when it gets around there, that part starts burning. But really, that's it. It's really the focus of it is under the tongue is intense. Very, very intense. But as far as the flavor goes, it does have a tangy type flavor. Has a similar general 7-Pot flavor. It smells like that fruity 7-Pot or scorpion type of fruitiness to it, which is different than habanero. This has got a different type of fruitiness. It has that kind of a smell on it. The flavor of it has a 7-Pot type flavor or scorpion type flavor. It does have that kind of flavor to it, but this was very tangy. It almost had a lemony type flavor to it. Can't quite say lemon, but it did have a nice flavor. I'll take a small bite off of this. It generally has there's no other way to describe that flavor. It generally has that scorpion 7-Pot type flavor. It really does have that. This has a little bit more maybe fruitiness than your typical 7-Pot. Maybe more like a scorpion. That's really it. As far as the heat goes, I just told you what I think about the heat, the way it's affecting the tongue. It is a creeper heat. You could eat this whole thing, chew it, and swallow it, and not know how hot it is until after it goes down. This pepper is generally not a killer type of pepper. It's like the low end of the 7-Pot peppers, in my opinion. It's definitely not on the upper end of 7-Pots. It's like the lower end. It's just like when you're going from habanero to 7-Pot, it's like right around that transition point. But I have eaten a couple of these that were very hot, much hotter. I've had eaten them where they were probably in the 400,000 or 500,000 range, something like that. It was really hot. It was above the upper end of the habaneros. In the upper end of the habaneros, you're talking about Caribbean Reds or Savinas. Those are like the upper end habanero heats, and those get really, really hot. This is like just around that area going into the low end area and can reach as high as like the middle range of the 7-Pots, which is starting to get into that 500,000. I've had a couple of these that were very hot like that. But that's it. That's your pod review for the 7-Pot lemon. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care.